Hi, I'm Phil Osier. I live in Stratford and have now for a number of years. I was one of the founders of Bear-Paw with a small group that initially included the Conservation Commissions of Candia and Deerfield, who started looking at maps together as two different towns that understood they had a lot of common open space areas and shared along their boundary lines great connections between what were already conserved lands, and at that time we were talking about state parks primarily, Pawtuckaway State Park and Bear Brook State Park, which is where the name came from, Bear-Paw. At any rate, we started sitting down with other towns pretty quickly after that initial meeting and thinking about connections beyond that, all the way from Raymond up to Stratford, which has quite a bit of conserved land in it, including a large privately owned property. I was asked to take part because professionally I worked for Cooperative Extension as a county forester in Rockingham County, and as part of my job I had become involved in the land conservation movement and encouraged towns to think about initiating local efforts to conserve land. We recognized that there wasn't a private land trust covering this region of towns, which worked out to 7 towns. And we early on began to think that we needed to form our own land trust to do that, which was a very big decision. We had to apply for the 501c3 status and all of that. We did it, we got going, and before we knew it, in fact, before we finished forming as a 501c3, word had gotten out, and we had a couple of properties initially in Stratford. The landowners wanted to place conservation easements on their land, and we got to work. So the minute we became a legal entity, we started conserving property and have done quite well since then. The region is still, at least this part of the region, the central and northern part of it, is still quite rich with these big patches of undeveloped land. Though the development pressures are region-wide now. So as an organization early on, it was fairly easy to get through the year. We didn't really have much of any staff. We had a part-time staff person that was paid for from a grant that we got from the National Park Service. And after that, we realized, the real challenge here is to keep this organization going as it grows, and to grow the organization as well. And that's one of the great challenges facing all private nonprofits, but particularly conservation organizations, particularly in New Hampshire. So the organization has concentrated a lot on that kind of thing, and how it can take the steps to continue to satisfy the need that's out there, and which will require that it grows itself and meet the challenge before it's too late, frankly. For a small organization with a relatively small region, we've had some incredible success stories, brought a heck of a lot of money in that is done on a very competitive grant basis, so we've been lucky, and we now have, thanks to our ability to find the funding, we have a full-time executive director, which about 5 or 6 years ago was a big move for us. We now know that we need additional staff. We need stewardship people. We need people to work on just conservation projects. And again, that's what it'll take for the organization to grow and be able to meet the needs and meet the challenges facing this region. So thank you very much for being a Bear-Paw supporter.